I've listened to Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen, probably longer than I even know.
And I listened to it once yesterday.
Welcome to Spin It. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Spin It, the record ranking podcast for people who would rather be listening to music. I'm James, and with me, Connor.
Hello.
Hello, indeed. Happy 4th of July. It's American Independence Day.
Is it the 4th of July?
Yes, it is. Well, I mean...
Wow. It also happens to be Spin It Independence Day.
It's not the 4th of July yet, but this is the week of the 4th of July, like as far as podcast episodes go. So if we're going to do a weekly release that covers the 4th of July...
Yeah, because isn't the 4th on a Thursday this year?
I think so. Whatever situation would make the day this episode comes out, the 28th of June.
Oh, that's not even the week of 4th of July then.
Well, the 4th of July is on a Thursday.
That's the week before.
That's what I'm saying. If we're doing Friday episodes, then we would have missed it. That's what I'm saying.
No, we'd be like, hey, happy 4th of July. Like, this is the closest episode to the 4th of July.
It still is. It's the 4th of July is less than a week away.
It's not the week of 4th of July, though.
It will be in 2 days, okay? Just wait. Be patient.
Yeah, well, you lied to the audience and me, and I'll never forgive you for that.
It really wasn't a lie. It was just, I feel like this is the closest podcast release.
It's not. It's objectively not.
Price is Right style, closest without going over.
Oh, okay. Well, who cares about going over?
If we miss it, who wants to listen to a 4th of July podcast on the 5th of July? You missed the moment.
Why not? Who wants to listen to it on the 28th of June?
They can listen to it on the 28th of June, or you can wait. Stop. If you want to listen to this on the 4th of July, stop now and come back on Thursday. See what I mean?
Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back. Okay, good. We're all on the same page. Just wanted to give people the option. And we're talking about Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA. An ironic pick, if not like a fully patriotic pick. Do you know Bruce Springsteen?
What don't I know about Bruce Springsteen?
Apparently you don't even know his last name. We got a lot to learn.
Oh, man. What don't I know about Bruce Springsteen?
There you go. Yeah.
Got it.
Spring like the season. Steen like... What is that like? Nothing.
Like Steen.
He's incomparable. Yeah.
Steen, a Dutch painter.
A Dutch painter? That's real good for the American Independence Day episode.
I think.
Maybe it's probably pronounced Stein. How's it spelled?
S-T-E-N?
That's Sten.
No, I said S-T-E-E-N.
Oh, there wasn't much of a break in between.
But also that might not be that word. Hang on, what is happening here?
I don't know.
I think maybe Jan Steen was a Dutch painter from 1626 to 1679.
Oh, a specific Dutch painter. It's the last name.
Yeah, well, I'm on dictionary.com, and the definition of Steen, it says noun, and then the definition is Jan, and then in parentheses the phonetic says Jan, comma, 1626 to 79, comma, Dutch painter.
Yeah, that's one guy.
So I think Jan Steen is a Dutch painter.
Well, this is not Jan Steen, it's Springsteen.
I'll be Jan Steening if this episode's boring.
Good grief.
Here, I can use Steen in a sentence. Here's dictionary.com sample sentence. Steen had hit upon the largest high-grade uranium deposit in the U.S., around 3,000 feet long, 800 feet wide, and up to 35 feet thick.
Well, that's just a name. They just used it as a proper noun.
Also, today's word of the day is illimitable.
That's a good one.
Means incapable of being limited.
Yes, it does.
This podcast is illimitable.
Truly.
Enough about Jan Steen. Oh, look, here's some of his artwork.
Not enough yet. Yeah, enough about him. We got to talk about Springsteen. So I mentioned to my mom that we were gearing up to do a Bruce Springsteen episode, and she said, "Oh man, do you remember listening to Born in the USA? I had it on cassette tape and played it all the time. Do you remember hearing it?" And I was like, maybe? The whole thing sounds just generally familiar to me. And I don't think I specifically remember listening to Springsteen a lot growing up. But I definitely, I knew at least the hits, if not a lot more, from this album when we got to it. So maybe Bruce Springsteen's been a Lil Wayne, who's been around my whole life, and I just didn't even realize.
Wow.
Yeah. Unlike Jan Steen, Bruce Springsteen, he's not from, what'd you say, the Netherlands? Denmark?
Dutch.
He's from New Jersey. Bruce Springsteen, the boss, the pride of Long Branch, New Jersey.
The boss!
Yeah, the boss. That's him. He was born in 1949. His father was a bus driver, and his mother was a legal secretary. And actually, Bruce Springsteen can trace his family ancestry back to a Revolutionary War veteran. Truly, a man born in the USA. A family from whom the USA was born. Bruce was the oldest of 3 children, and he grew up attending Catholic school. Musically, his big early inspirations were Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, and he actually really was affected by the Beatles' iconic appearances on The Ed Sullivan Show. He watched them play and he said, you know, I could be a musician myself. I could do it. So he started trying to make that happen. He bought his first guitar for $19, and he started the hard work of learning to play. It is painful work learning to play a guitar for a while until you get calluses on your fingers. I mean, it's rough. But he was dedicated, and he persisted. His mother actually wound up taking out a loan to buy him a better $60 guitar. By high school, Springsteen kind of became this loner. His teacher said he was a loner who wanted nothing more than to play his guitar. He actually said he felt so disconnected from his classmates and his school that he skipped his own graduation. That's a pretty boss move.
That is pretty boss.
Absolutely. In 1965... teenage Bruce Springsteen kind of became a bit of a free agent for bands around town. He played and sat in with a lot of bands like the Castiles, Earth, and most notably the band Child, also known as Steel Mill. He was playing around New Jersey and New York City, and by the early 70s, he was even going on small regional tours to Virginia, Nashville, and even all the way out to California in this band. Critics took notice of him. I mean, they went to see Steel Mill and they watched this guy that was crushing it, just incredible. And they said they had, quote, never been so overwhelmed by a totally unknown talent. And I can only imagine. I mean, to see what Springsteen's done with his live shows in adulthood, man, he must have been tearing it up even at an early age.
Must have.
Well, Bruce's free agency continues on the strength of those performances, as he played with bands like Dr. Zoom and the Sonic Boom, the Sundance Blues Band, and his own namesake, Bruce Springsteen Band. He starts to realize that he might be able to swing it all on his own. Given the strength of his own songwriting, he's like, you know what? Maybe I don't need a band. Maybe I can get out on my own and just sing Steen. That's probably not what he thought, but it could be. So in 1972, he's flying solo. He starts putting together a proper band for his solo debut album, a band that would go on to be known as his famous E Street Band. They've accompanied Springsteen, practically ever since. Since he was in charge of setting up the band and collecting and distributing all the money at the end of their gigs, that's what got him the nickname The Boss. He was boss of the money. It's also a very good New Jersey type nickname. It just is right. Just feels right.
Yeah.
Well, the Boss signed on with Columbia Records in 1972, courtesy of Clive Davis and John Hammond, who actually also played a big role in signing Bob Dylan the year before. So they're hitting win after win for Columbia. Springsteen jumped at the chance, and he put out his iconic debut record, Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey, with hits like Blinded by the Light. You know Blinded by the Light, right?
Blinded by the light.
Yeah, you know the other version. The cover by Manfred Mann's Earth Band.
Probably.
Yeah, Springsteen did the original, but I definitely was way more familiar with the cover too.
Oh.
Either way, that's debut album stuff. That's a huge song for a debut album.
Yeah.
Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey came out in 1973 to rave reviews. This is like rocky folk rock. This is something nobody's really doing, right? It's got all the lyricism of a Bob Dylan folk rock kind of song, right? The blue collar workers and the just real like hometown stuff. But it's not set to folk style music. It's got a lot more punch. People are digging it. 9 months later, so soon after, his sophomore album, The Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle came out, and it was also a critical success.
Yeah. I like his folky stuff.
Me too. If you like his folky stuff, maybe Nebraska was the way we should have gone. Oh, I didn't think about that.
I'm a folk guy.
Okay. Maybe that's one we can backtrack. I hadn't really considered it, but that'd be a fitting pair to have a Born in the USA episode with the Nebraska backtracks.
Where was Nebraska born? In the USA.
Nebraska was born in the USA. We'll talk about it in just a little bit. We'll get to the intricacies of what Nebraska is.
Talk about it, talk about it, talk about it in a little bit.
Yeah, that's the cover of Funky Town, a song that Bruce Springsteen had no association with.
I wouldn't say no.
Until today. The folky stuff's big. It's good. You like it, I like it. The world liked it, but he was struggling to sell records a little bit, which is kind of funny. Critics were saying stuff like John Landau, the well-known critic, he said, I saw rock and roll future, and its name is Bruce Springsteen. That's pretty prophetic. Like, what a high bar to set. Either way, Bruce Springsteen keeps grinding it out, and he takes up a regular gig at the Stone Pony, which is a brand new venue on Ocean Avenue that has since become a legendary spot for hosting acts like Springsteen and John Bon Jovi. Bruce would actually meet his second wife, Patty Cialfa, at the Stone Pony.
Dang.
Yeah, I know. It's an iconic venue.
Huh.
Meanwhile, he's recording Born to Run, his third album. Do you know Born to Run, the song?
Know it. I was it.
I was it. You were born to run?
Yeah.
Good for you. I wish I was born to run. Honestly, I think I'm a little more born to walk, but that's just me.
Did a lot of running as a baby. There was some doctor that wanted to spank me to make me cry. Ran away from him.
His first steps so soon.
Can't be caught lacking. Doctor's gonna get you.
Can't be caught lacking.
Ran to the nearest Apple store.
So I ran. I was born and I ran.
I was born to run.
Bruce Springsteen, he's kind of got a thing for Born titled albums, doesn't he? I mean, two of his biggest are Born. We know what he's born to do and where he's born.
He should release another like folk like album called like Bjorn.
Why?
I don't know, just because he likes Born things. So then folk. So like Viking. Do like a Viking folk album, Bruce Springsteen. I'd listen to that.
You might be one of a few.
Tell me you wouldn't listen to that if like tomorrow a headline popped up on your phone that was like Bruce Springsteen
Releases Viking album?
Viking album called Bjorn in the... I don't know, what would it be called? Bjorn in Valhalla?
I don't know. I think a lot of people would listen because they're curious, not because they want it.
You don't know what you want till you hear it. And then you're like, whoa, I didn't know I was missing this.
Yeah. Either way, he's doing Born to Run. Born to Run took more than 14 months to get that record right. I mean, think about between his first and his second album, 9 months total.
I mean, that's slow. There are people that do it in like 6 days.
Yeah, I know. And Springsteen's out here for 14 months, tweaking Born to Run until it's perfect.
He's like those construction workers that work on the road that
Perpetually. Yeah.
it never seems to end.
That's true. And honestly, he spent more than half a year just on the title track, just on Born to Run the song. He said he was hearing sounds in his head that he couldn't reproduce or even explain properly in the studio. And the producers that he was working with weren't getting it done for him. And that's why it took so long. I mean, he's having not illimitable thoughts, but inexpressible thoughts that the producers can't do. Eventually, though, I think that major investment of time and effort was so worth it. He hated the original demo of Born to Run so much that he threw it into a hotel pool. But when they did nail it down, they got it right. Born to Run ended up being Springsteen's biggest success to that time, with the title track peaking at number 23 on the Hot 100, and the whole album hitting number 3 on the Billboard charts. It was this wave of success that Springsteen kind of loved and kind of hated. It kind of brought him a lot of notoriety, and with that came a lot of pushback. In 1975, he was the first artist to appear on the covers of Newsweek and Time in the same week. And for the record, that's in the same 7-day span, just so we're on the same page. And people started to wonder whether he was just kind of paying to win, like he was a record label plant, not the real deal. You know what I mean? He's just here because he's paying to be here. Obviously, a little frustrating, naturally. That'd be hard to cope with as an artist who's just trying to do my best to make good music. I'd get frustrated too. But between that and touring and a lawsuit that he had to deal with, not to mention his ongoing perfectionism that he discovered with that recent album, it took almost 3 years for his next album, Darkness on the Edge of Town, to come out. When it did, it stayed on the charts for 167 weeks, more than 3 years, actually, and it went triple platinum. His live shows started to evolve too, past the little Stone Pony gigs and regional touring. Suddenly, he finds himself playing 3-hour shows that are just captivating, driving the crowds wild. He spent 18 months working on his 5th album, a double album called The River, and then he got to work on what are kind of sibling albums that we're going to talk about today. Those 2 albums that kind of go together, that are interwoven, are Nebraska and Born in the U.S.A. So here's the story behind Nebraska, right? This is, I guess if you're interested in a folkier Bruce Springsteen, we could backtrack Nebraska. But you kind of got to do the story of Nebraska with the story of Born in the USA. They go hand in hand. Bruce starts compiling tracks, and he just keeps writing and writing and writing and writing. He's got this big handful of songs that he wants to demo before he brings them to the band. And that's what eventually turns into Nebraska, which is the first Springsteen album that I ranked, by the way. He said, I was just doing songs for the next rock album, and I decided that what always took me so long in the studio was the writing. I would get in there, and I just wouldn't have the material written, or it wasn't written well enough. So I'd record for a month, get a couple things, go home, write some more, record for another month. It wasn't very efficient. So this time, I got a little 4-track cassette machine, and I said, I'm going to record these songs, and if they sound good with just me doing them, I'll teach them to the band. I could sing and play the guitar, and then I had 2 tracks do something else, like overdub a guitar or add a harmony. It was just going to be a demo. Then I had a little Echoplex that I mixed through, and that was it. And that was the tape that became the record, Nebraska.
Wow.
I know. It's just a raw demo tape that he recorded in his room. Like, it doesn't get folkier than that. He said it's amazing that it got there, because I was carrying that cassette around with me in my pocket without a case for a couple weeks, just dragging it around. Finally, we realized, uh-oh, that's the album. So maybe it was a little lintier than he initially intended, but thankfully it did not lose too much quality. But here's the kicker. Some of the demos that he did record for Nebraska included tracks that made it to full band versions on Born in the USA. 8 of the 12 tracks on Born in the USA had their genesis as part of the collection of songs that would make up Nebraska. They're just the ones that passed the full band test in the studio. He said, I had these 2 extremely different recording experiences going. Originally, he said, I was going to put them out at the same time as a double record. I didn't know what to do, because they don't mesh, right? They're the same batch of songs, but the full band Born in the USA does not go with self-cassette recorded Nebraska. And that's what he ended up with, is the split. One album and another album. I love Nebraska, right? It's raw, it's emotional, it's the same kind of blue-collar slice-of-life situations that you get on Born in the USA. It was released in late 1982, and it didn't take too terribly long to get everything else ready for Born in the USA. They recorded Born in the USA between January of 1982 and March of 1984. And get this, those sessions led to 80 songs total that they really pared down to an incredibly strong dozen tracks. Can you imagine an 80-track Born in the USA?
That'd be nuts.
It would be so much. What we ended up with is a powerful electric rock album that deals in folk themes on that same small town scale that he's famous for. It's resonant. It was powerful back then, and it's still powerful today. Born in the USA is a kicker. It debuted at number 9 on the Hot 100, but it pretty quickly climbed to number 1 for 7 weeks and stayed on the charts for 143 weeks. Worldwide, it topped the charts in 9 countries, and it's come to be one of the best-selling albums of all time. To date, it has surpassed 30 million units. 30 million. In the United States, it's certified 17 times platinum for selling 17 million records by 1995. It's kind of the album that turned Bruce Springsteen from a rock star into a legend, really. It actually earned a nomination for Album of the Year at the Grammy Awards, although it lost out to Lionel Richie. Hindsight, right?
Hindsight.
Springsteen himself is actually a little split. He loves Nebraska and considers those songs some of his best work ever. But he said Born in the USA, on the other hand, is a group of songs about which I've always had some ambivalence. So that's interesting. Seems lukewarm. But the massive increase in attention and the new fans that Born in the USA brought challenged him to grow as an artist. On the flip side of that, he said, it forced me to question the way I presented my music and made me think harder about what I was doing. So there you go. Nice little moment of growth for the boss. Also, wildly enough, Born in the USA was the very first record commercially released as a CD in the United States. That's crazy to me.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
I mean, 1984 feels early for CDs, but also it does not feel that long ago. And nowadays CDs are like out. You know what I mean? Everything's gone digital.
Yeah.
That's wild. Also in the UK, the massive surge in popularity Bruce Springsteen experienced after Born in the USA caused all 7 of his former albums to enter into the UK album charts at the same exact time.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's the first time an artist has ever had their entire catalog chart in the UK at once.
The only time ever, or just the first time?
Well, at the time it was the only time ever because it was the first time. To date, I'm not sure if that's a record that still stands.
It'd be a hard thing to do.
It would, yeah. I know kind of similar things have been done in the US, but I couldn't tell you specifics off the top of my head. Anyway, that's the kind of Nebraska Born in the USA co-era where we're hanging out today. As far as the rest of his career, he followed up Born in the USA with 1987's Tunnel of Love. He played a massive concert for 300,000 fans in East Germany in 1988, which actually has been cited as playing a big role in bringing down the Berlin Wall. which is kind of wild.
That is wild.
And a lot more. He's done other things. He did part ways with the E Street Band for a minute in 1989, but he would eventually bring him back with a reunion tour in 1999. To date, Springsteen's put out 21 studio albums. His most recent was Only the Strong Survive in late 2022. He still tours very frequently, and his live shows bring the house down as much today as they ever did. He's also put out 23 live albums. To give you an idea, that's more live albums than studio albums.
Wow.
So his concerts are really something. He's also released an autobiography. He did an 8-week stint on Broadway, doing kind of a one-man show where he combined music and excerpts from his book into a show that earned him a Tony Award. And there's also a biopic in the works about the making of Nebraska, which, at the time of recording this, is supposed to come out sometime pretty soon.
Wow, that's pretty soon.
I know. Yeah, it is. And you know the boss. With a name like the boss, he's got to have some awards and accolades to back that title up.
I mean, does he?
You're darn right he does.
He's the boss. He doesn't need them. He just has them.
He doesn't need them, he just has them. That's actually a really good way to look at it. While the awards that he has are more than 140 million records sold around the world, including 71 million records in the United States. Truly one of the world's best sellers. He's got 20 Grammys, 2 Golden Globes, and an Oscar, and, like I mentioned, that Tony. Bruce Springsteen was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1999 by Bono, and he, in turn, would induct U2 6 years later. Not you also, the band U2.
Oh, darn. Here, I thought I was about to get inducted.
Yeah, he didn't induct you into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Sorry. You missed the ceremony. Where were you?
Oh, no.
He's also in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and in 2009, he received the Kennedy Center honors. And in 2021, speaking of folksy roots, Bruce Springsteen was just the 8th recipient of the Woody Guthrie Prize, meant to honor artists who advocate for social justice in the spirit of folk music. Definitely, Springsteen is a very vocal, outspoken advocate for a lot of things. He calls it like he sees it, and you could probably tell that from the very overt political themes on Born in the USA.
What?
He's always been very forthcoming about his political beliefs and his views. Also, as of March of 2024, Springsteen is the very first international songwriter to become an Academy Fellow of the Ivors Academy. They have honored European artists and writers for more than 80 years, and Springsteen is the one that's finally getting in from across the pond. Also, last little Bruce trivia tidbit, warm up the mixtaper, get him ready. Bruce Springsteen thrice has been deemed the highest earning musician in the United States by Forbes in 1987, 2004, and then in 2021.
Oh, wow.
Which seems like a weird year for that, but hey, it happened.
Didn't you say he released an album in 2021, or is that 2022?
Well, he did his Only the Strong Survive.
So maybe that plus any touring he was doing for it got him up there.
It could have been a lot of touring, I think.
Plus, what else were people doing in 2021?
Staying home, listening to Bruce Springsteen. But there you have it. That's Born in the USA in the nutshell. It's time to get the Mixtaper out here and learn some more random trivia tidbits about the boss.
Get a couple more nuts to crack.
Yeah.
Hey, it's me, the Mixtaper.
Hello, Mixtaper. Welcome back. Happy 4th of July. Are you celebrating Independence today?
I'd like to go by a new name this week.
You'd like a new name? This is going to be a boss, something about the boss, right?
It is now.
What was your new name that you were going to suggest? I don't mean to steal your thunder. I just assumed, you wanted to be like the boss.
I'm already the boss.
I feel like you're more like the sidekick. I don't know.
No. The Gopher's the sidekick.
True enough.
I'd like to go by Mixteen.
Mixteen? Like Springsteen, but mixtaper-fied?
Yeah. Oh, or maybe it should be Mixtape-steen?
I can't believe you're just not going Spinsteen.
Oh my gosh, Mixtaper Spinsteen. I like it. That's what we're going with.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I could help.
Thank you.
But no, request denied.
Oh, well, it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, it was.
What if I get my name legally changed to that? Then would you call me that?
I mean, I guess it could technically be your last name, but I don't have to call you that.
Well, like, if you were to refer to me formally, then you'd have to be like, oh, that's Mixter. That's Mixter?
Oh, no.
That's Mixter Spinsteen.
I mean, I guess I can get behind that. Mixture. Honestly, I can't believe it's taken 155 episodes for that one to happen.
Especially because for a while my Twitter was Mr. Mixtaper.
Yeah, right, I know.
Anyway, we're starting in a weird place.
All right, Mixter, tell me about the boss.
Well, the boss had an interesting first song.
Interesting first song. Like as Bruce Springsteen or like before?
No, as like the first thing he ever learned to play.
Okay, the first thing he ever learned to play. Well, he was inspired by Frank Sinatra and Elvis and the Beatles and I guess a lot of those 50s, 60s crooners and rock bands. What do you got? What's the first thing he learned to play?
Well, I wanted to get into the holiday spirit.
The holiday spirit of the 4th of July? Yeah.
Well, now that we're in July, you know, this is our first July episode since, even though it's coming out in June.
In June.
It's our first July episode. You and Connor were already over that. I heard it.
You of all people should understand.
Oh, trust me. I understand. It's our first July episode. So, you know, my favorite holiday in July. Christmas in July.
Christmas in July?
Yeah.
Is it a Christmas song? What Christmas song did he learn to play?
You've heard of the classic Christmas carol, What Child Is This?
What child is this? Yeah.
You know that one?
It's all about what child that is.
What child is this who laid to rest on Mary's lap is sleeping? That one?
Yeah. I think that's probably royalty free, so
Yeah.
they can't come after us for singing that one.
You're welcome. Well, the song he learned inspired that one.
Inspired that one? Oh, if it's that new, then it might not be royalty free.
Well, no. What Child Is This came out in like the 1800s. I'm saying that like the song he learned how to play.
So his is even older than that.
Yeah.
Oh dear. What song did he learn that's even older than What Child Is This?
Well,
What child is this who's born to run? The doctor's chasing him.
with a gun. Wait, what?
Whoa. I just saw an opportunity and I took it. And then the doctor got a lot meaner than wanting to spank the kid like he did in your initial version.
I was like, what rhymes with run? When gun. Anyway.
What song is so old that it inspired What Child Is This?
Well, it's an ice cream van song.
An ice cream van song?
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard a lot of songs come from ice cream vans.
It's only used in some parts of the ice cream world, so you may not have heard this one.
The New Jersey parts of the ice cream world?
Potentially. I don't know.
Well, what's the song?
Well, you see, it was used as the basis for a song called Home in the Meadow, which was a recurring song through the 1962 epic film How the West Was Won.
What are we talking about here? Okay, so this old song from ice cream trucks inspired How the West Was Won?
It inspired the song Home in the Meadow that was used throughout the film How the West Was Won, which was a 1962 epic film.
Start over. The year is before 1800. A song exists.
If we're following it back, we've got...
What do you know the title of this original song?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I'm just making you work for it.
Can you say it? Because that would help a lot with building this tree.
Well, you see, it was the basis for the 1964 song Amsterdam that was done by Belgian singer Jacques Brel. It was used as the basis for that.
Okay, so what you're doing right now is telling me things that this song inspired.
Yeah.
These things aren't all tied together. I'm trying to think like, what child is this inspired an ice cream truck song? No, that's not it.
No,
right?
No,
you're talking about
this song
mystery
inspired
song.
What Child Is This, and inspired an ice cream truck, and inspired the song Amsterdam, and inspired Home in the Meadow.
Okay,
A recurring song through 1962 epic film How the West Was Won.
got it. That wasn't super clear.
And it was potentially, though probably not, but maybe written by King Henry VIII.
King Henry VIII?
Yeah.
That seems like a probably not kind of thing. What's the song?
Yeah, but there's a lot of people who think he at least was the inspiration for it, if not the writer.
This also didn't have to be a Christmas thing at all.
No, it didn't. No,
You just started with What Child Is This?
Yeah.
You could have gone for like, it's July, we got ice cream trucks.
I definitely could have.
And a lot more like reasonable jumps we could have made.
But yeah, they think Henry VIII, if he didn't compose it, he at least inspired it. The legend goes that he wrote the song for his lover and future queen consort, Anne Boleyn,
Oh,
who was his second queen, the one he beheaded for treason.
the one he beheaded for treason?
Well, one of the ones he beheaded.
Yeah, that's more like
The first one he beheaded for treason.
right.
Because she wore a lot of green, right? Green was like her color.
Okay.
That's a hint to the name of the song. If she wore a lot of green, she probably had these.
It's not easy being green.
No, but she probably had these things on her top. If she wore a lot of green, probably had. Get the name parts of like the shirt.
Green sleeves?
You nailed it! First guess! Green Sleeves is the name of the song.
Okay.
And it's a song you probably have heard the melody to.
I mean, it sounds likely. It sounds familiar, the name Green Sleeves.
Kenny G has a really famous like saxophone version of it, but that's not my favorite. I'm letting you have context of the song real fast.
Right. I was going to say, I probably need to hear what the song sounds like.
So here's an instrumental version of it, which is really good. And then here's a version of it with words by the Celtic Ladies.
Oh, it's literally no different. I mean, it's like What Child Is This is set to the tune of Greensleeves.
Yeah, just different lyrics, really.
So actually, I don't think I know it from any other contexts, really.
Really?
I feel like if I heard it out in the wild, I either just wrote it off in my brain as, oh, it's playing What Child Is This? That's weird.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, that's interesting. So you're saying the first song that Springsteen learned to play is Green Sleeves.
Yep.
Did he learn it in the context of, oh, I really like that song from that 1964 movie that you said whose name I can't remember? Or was he like, wow, that ice cream truck is so fun, I want to imitate it? Or was he in a Christmassy mood doing What Child Is This? Or was he like, man, in history class, like Anne Boleyn?
No, it was just when he was learning to play, he had this big book of American folk music, and that was one of the easier ones to learn because it was just 2 chords.
It is certainly not just 2 chords.
Well, not the version you probably just heard, but the version that was in his big book of American folk music.
I don't even know if the Big Book of American Folk Music could condense it that much. I've played through What Child Is This many a time. It's a little advanced to be a first song of a young boss.
Well, he eventually made his way to learning a 3rd chord, and therefore he learned his 2nd song, which was Twist and Shout by the Beatles.
That's a 3-chord song, and it is much simpler.
And I will promise you that detail is 100% true. This fact is not about the Beatles, so...
No, it's not about the 2nd song. No.
Yeah, that was just a fun little trivia tidbit I normally would have saved for after the fact, but it fit right there, so I put it in.
You think this is Christmas in July? I'm going to have to say this is Christmas in July.
Lie?
Because I think this is a spin.
Or are you going to say J-Fact?
No, I'm not going to say Christmas in J-Fact. I think this is a spin.
Yeah.
Like you're lying, Mixtaper. I think this is a spin.
I am J-Factin'. This is a true fact.
Really? It is not like you described it at all. It is not a 2-chord song.
That's what it is.
I totally believe that he had an interesting first song, and actually, now that you say it's true.
That's what he said. He said, and so I learned that first because it only had 2 chords, and eventually I made my way to a 3rd chord, which allowed you to play Twist and Shout by the Beatles. That is a direct quote from Bruce Springsteen himself on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon in 2020.
I believed it until you started talking about what the song was like with chords.
Yeah.
That felt wrong to me.
You don't know everything about chords.
Because it's not a 2-chord song.
Well, apparently that version was in the Big Book of American Folk Music that he had.
Okay, well, shoot. That is an interesting first song, though. And an interesting second song.
It's just an interesting song in general.
The history of it is really cool. I had no idea.
Let's move on to... He has a planet named after him.
Oh, geez. Wow. Oh, we're moving way on.
Yeah. Well, there's one I kind of feel like I have to save for last. And then there's one that ramps even farther than that.
Farther than this?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, not in like scope, but just in terms of ridiculousness.
Okay. Is it Neptune?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Good old Neptune Springsteen. What planet is it? Born to Sun.
Planet 23990.
23990.
Yeah.
Which planet is that? Which galaxy? What solar system am I looking at?
It's
Let me point my telescope up there. Give me some chords.
It's a minor planet somewhere. Who knows where?
Somewhere. It's out there.
It's out there.
It's not here. I know that for darn sure.
But it's a minor planet, planet 23990, and it was officially named Springsteen in honor of Bruce in 2001.
Who did this? Who names the planets? Probably, I guess, the scientist who discovered it.
Well, that depends on what kind of planet you're talking about. The minor planets are named by Minor Planet Center, MPC.
They have specific centers for different qualities of planets.
New Zealand astronomer I.P. Griffin was the one that discovered it and named it, and MPC, the Minor Planet Center, put out the announcement.
Interesting. Is he a Springsteen fan?
Probably, because the night he discovered it, his music was entertaining the astronomers.
Oh, they were rocking out to Springsteen as they were looking through the telescope, found a new planet, and went for it.
Yeah. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay, so it's got the number 23990 or whatever. That doesn't have any relevance to Springsteen.
No.
It doesn't look like him. I don't know. Whatever it might be.
Talk like him. Act like him.
Yeah, they just listened to Springsteen and found it. And it's just called Springsteen?
Yeah.
This seems pretty hard to prove or disprove. There are a lot of planets out there.
You can just look it up. I mean, it's very easy to prove or disprove.
Can I? Okay, let me do that first.
No.
I need some points here.
No. You don't need any points. I'm trying to get back to a 50-50.
Yeah, but you've been scoring a lot in the recent weeks.
I have, and I want to do an official score check at some point, but probably I kind of want to wait till it's the final episode. I don't want to know if my hopes are dashed or not until after the final round.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I need you to name a planet, either fact or spin right now, based on how you feel about this bit of information.
Yeah, I think I'm orbiting planet fact.
Orbiting planet fact.
There's a lot of planets out there, again, and it wouldn't be, they don't get discovered every day, unless I guess maybe they do. But
This was a minor planet.
right, that's true. You gotta have some tunes.
Isn't that what Pluto was? No, Pluto was a dwarf planet. What's the difference between a dwarf planet and a minor planet? Do you think there's a dwarf planet center?
I don't know, but it feels like semantics.
DPC that names those?
Maybe, but the problem is the minor planet center and the major planet center all have the same acronym.
Oh, no.
Anyway, I'm thinking fact. It's a pretty ambitious claim to make. But Springsteen is one of the most popular, like, best-selling artists in the world. So maybe?
Maybe. This is Houston. We have a fact. This is a true fact.
Oh, right. We have a fact. Good. I'm glad. And I absolutely was going to go on to one of those, like, hokey name a planet websites and just buy my own planet named Springsteen for this point if you said it wasn't true. So I'm glad we don't have to go to all that rigmarole. This is just true. There's a planet Springsteen out there.
Planet Springsteen.
That's wild. Do you know how far away it is? I mean, you don't know where it is. You just said it's somewhere out there. You went all Five-O on me, but it's somewhere.
Somewhere out there, the planet Springsteen exists.
I'm glad to hear it. Wow. That's pretty great.
Pretty great.
I'm surprised that was true. It was kind of a gamble to say yes on, but I like it. That was bold for a second fact.
You ready to get bolder? Richer, if you will?
Richer. He's already been the richest 3 times.
His childhood home had an unusual smell.
What in the Florence and the Machine is this?
Not sweat.
What does his childhood home smell like?
Chocolate and coffee.
What about that is unusual?
It happened every time it rained.
When it rained?
Yeah, whenever it rained, the smells of chocolate and coffee would permeate throughout the household.
Okay, is that because somebody ate chocolate and made coffee whenever it rained?
No, this was not done by them.
This is, wow, that's what I was almost sure you were headed towards with that lead in. But this is the house just smelled like chocolate and coffee because somebody before did it so much that when it rains, it gets like must. What's the deal?
Yeah, well, when Springsteen was around 4 or 5 years old, his family moved into one half of a duplex.
Oh, the neighbors did it.
Incorrect.
Oh.
Nearby neighbors, but not like the neighbors of the other half of the duplex.
Oh, okay. So it just wafts all the way across the yard, whatever?
Yeah, down like the road.
Down the road? Who are the neighbors?
A nearby Nestle factory.
Nah, see? Yeah, this is not... If it wafts down the road, these aren't normal people. He lives by a Nestle factory.
Yeah.
And does Nestle make coffee?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, that's logical enough. Why in the rain?
Every time it rained, the smells of chocolate and coffee would escape from the local Nestle factory and smell up his house.
Smell up his house? But why in the rain?
Something probably to do with the odors maybe getting released when like rain would go down the smokestacks or something. I don't know. I don't know how science works.
Okay, get it all wet. Sure. Here's my problem with this. I think we got the wrong smell. Right place, wrong smell.
Right place, wrong smell?
I've been around a few factories. I think they all have a manufacturing type smell. Smoke and grit and...
Have you ever been in a Nestle factory?
No. Touche.
For all you know, they have like a chocolate moat and
No, but it's not like, it's not Willy Wonka. It's not some magical place. Nestle is like far from like the place that smells good and is all happy, go lucky, great.
I mean, so was Willy Wonka, kind of. I mean, look how many kids almost died.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Oh, that's right. You haven't. We need to watch that.
I watched that one girl turn into a blueberry. That's as far as I got. So I think this is a spin, but I do think most of it's true and that he did live by a Nestle factory that stunk when it rained, but I bet it did not smell like chocolate and coffee.
You're right. This is mostly true.
Well, is it?
In fact, one could argue it is 100% true because this is a true fact.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it is mostly true. I'm glad I got that part right. I just thought you were trying to be sneaky with smells.
I was not sneaky with smells. I'm sorry. I gave you honest smells.
Yeah, you did. I think honestly, I wouldn't hate that. To live down from a place that smelled like coffee and chocolate? That'd be pretty good. Black coffee and dark chocolate go together pretty well.
Are you ready for our final rant?
I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Am I?
Also, do you now get my Richard joke?
Yeah, because it was...
With chocolate?
Yeah.
Just wanted to circle back to that.
Because, yeah, rich. Good thing. I'm glad you clarified, because I bet some people out there were like, that had nothing to do with being rich. But, yeah, got it. Ready to get richer? His duplex stunk. Yeah, it was good you clarified.
He performed at the Olympics.
Darn it.
I told you I had one that had to be last.
This isn't a recurring fact because nothing about it is ever the same, but it's a fact that's come up so many times.
It's a returning headline.
I think 7 times? Let's see.
It's it's probably our most popular.
It's close. Casey Musgraves was first. She did perform next to the Olympics. Hank Williams did not yodel at the Olympics. Fleetwood Mac did not perform at the Olympics. Stevie Wonder did play at the Olympics. Sufjan Stevens did not perform at the Olympics. SZA did not perform at the Olympics as the 5th best gymnast in the United States, even though she was qualified to and got injured. That's where we're at. Like 2 facts in there, but mostly spins. Bruce Springsteen performed at the Olympics, and now I'm conditioned to ask, performed music?
No.
Really?
No. I mean, yes, really. No, he didn't.
What'd he perform?
Well, you might want to ask one more clarifying question about the title.
At the Olympics?
Technically.
Technically, As a part of the Olympics?
A part of an Olympics.
What Olympics?
The NJHSHO.
NJHSHO.
Yes.
The New Jersey High School Special Olympics?
No. HSHO.
There's another H. I'm bad with acronyms too.
Yeah.
The New Jersey High School Hooligan Olympics? The Olympics for high school hooligans?
Hoon Olympics?
Hoons, yeah. It's in Australia. No, what's the deal?
Horse is the one letter you didn't get.
Horse? He performed at the Horse Olympics?
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, he didn't perform music at the Horse Olympics. Did he perform horse riding at the Horse Olympics?
More like coaching for horse riding.
He performed coaching.
Yeah.
Is Springsteen an equestrian coach?
He was for that.
Does he coach the horses or the people?
The people.
Okay. And is this like a celebrity guest kind of thing?
No, it was a specific person he was coaching.
Who's he coaching?
His daughter.
Oh, cute.
She went on to win a silver medal in the team show jumping event.
That's pretty cool.
I guess I could have made this. Bruce Springsteen is a silver medal Olympic winning coach.
Well, the coaches don't win the medals. I don't know if you know.
What, they don't get one too?
I don't think so.
I've been lied to my whole life.
To be honest, I don't know, and it doesn't really matter. But it's like the Grammys. They all belong to the Olympics.
It's true. But also, I don't think it is.
So he coaches his daughter to Olympic stardom.
Yeah, he was like her equestrian coach, like helped her train and stuff for it, and was like her handler.
Does she not have a normal coach that taught her how to ride?
Bruce Springsteen is a horse guy.
Okay, so he then is an equestrian coach.
Well,
if he taught his daughter how to ride?
I guess, technically. I would agree with that statement. I feel like if I'd said yes to that in the moment, it would have implied things I didn't want to imply.
Okay, fair. This is a tricky one because now I got to get it right to go 50-50.
Yeah, the pressure's really off of me. I can just sit back and wait for an answer.
I think this is a fact. I think this is the first all-fact week we've seen since...
When was the last one?
It's been a long time, and I started scrolling when you said the fact, and since Journey, episode 110.
Whoa!
And that was when you played against Connor.
Yeah, that's when I played against Connor. Wow. Last one I did against you was even older than that.
108. It was Leonard Skinnard.
Wow.
So it wasn't far older than that.
Still 108, you said?
Yeah.
Almost 50 episodes.
I think we could have one here. This seems like a potential all-fact week. I'm...
Locking in fact?
Don't put words in my mouth.
No, that was a question. There was a question mark on that.
Locking in fact.
Oh, okay. Well, now I'll put words in your mouth. Locking in fact?
No, nobody puts words in my mouth but me. Even if they're the same as the ones I would have said.
So I'm sorry. I will now just say, do you have a locked-in answer for me?
Yeah, I would like to lock in Bruce Springsteen horse coach, Olympic medalist winning horse coach.
Silver.
Is a fact. He's the boss.
He's the boss.
Why can't he be the boss of equestrians?
Why can't he be the coach too?
Horse boss.
The horse boss.
Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen, horse boss.
Born to gallop. Come on, baby.
Oh, gosh. Well, I thought you might noticed the trend here, and with how big Bruce Springsteen is, I thought you might pick up on the likelihood of an all facts week. So I'm not surprised this has happened. And so
Don't say it.
that is why I've given 3 facts in a row and a 4th spin.
Darn it. No.
And I really messed up, and I'm glad you're not like a farm person. You're not like
I'm not a farm person.
You're not like a animal person like that.
Did you name? Is there something wrong with the format of these Olympics? Can high school Olympics not happen?
Well, no, they can.
Is the event you named not even real?
The event I named is not real at all.
Oh my gosh.
But no self-respecting horse-related event would ever call it a horse event. They call it an equestrian event.
I mean, for the record, I did refer to it as equestrian all the time.
Yeah. I'm just saying, when I said the acronym was NJHSHO, it should have been EO for Equestrian Olympics, right?
Yeah.
No establishment would ever call it the Horse Olympics.
Well, to be fair, you never said they had self-respect either, so.
That's fair. But this is partially true. I didn't want to just completely lie. I found too many good nuggets of truth to make up a full lie.
Yeah.
Springsteen's daughter, Jessica, is a silver medal winning Olympic athlete in the team show jumping event at the 2020 Summer Olympic Games in Tokyo.
Oh, the real Olympics.
The real Olympics, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
2020 was actually a big year for the Springsteen offspreens.
Offspring-steens is really what you just should have gone with.
Offspring-steens, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. For the Bruce Offspring-steen.
Sure.
2020, daughter Jessica, silver medal winning Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Son Sam was sworn in as a New Jersey firefighter in 2020, and his other son Evan has followed him in the music path and has performed with his dad a lot.
That's cool.
Yeah, the Offspring-steens are up to a lot of stuff.
Well, the more you know. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so I saw that and I was like, I can't just say he performed at the Olympics. He won't. Plus, honestly, it might be true. Honestly, I didn't bother to Google if Bruce Springsteen ever was a performer at the Olympics. For all I know, that part's actually true. And I could have made this a true fact. Didn't even bother to check. I now realize. But I saw that and immediately was like, this would make a good final fact because it's a repeat and then also a spin after 3 weird truths in a row.
I mean, he's performed at the Olympic Stadium in places like Barcelona, Spain, but I don't think he's performed at the Olympics. They performed at an Olympics benefit concert.
Very nice. Well, that wraps it up for old Mixter Springsteen.
Good, you remembered your own name.
I wasn't sure I had, if I'm honest with you.
You got it.
I'll see you next week for not only the final episode of the Year of Healing, but the final round in this season of Factor Spin.
In this season? This is the end of season 7?
Next episode will be the end of season 7. I'm calling it now.
Oh, wow. It's been going on since episode 127.
Been going for a while.
The stakes were already high, and they are so much higher.
Well, I figure it's the end of the Year of Healing. It's now will be the end of the season. It's the end of the Spin It year. So there's just a lot of ending going on. So I thought we'd all start into the new era, whatever it may be, fresh.
Fresh. Yeah, that's very nice. Well, I'm excited for next week. We'll see who comes out on top in season 7 and the Year of Healing.
And until then, yeah.
Wow, welcome back, Connor.
You blew it.
I did blow it. It's rough.
Now you're putting the pressure on me to perform well to prevent him from, I think, taking the lead. I think he's gotten a lot of points back lately. I don't know what the official score is.
Well, it's not looking great.
Like I said, I think it's fun to keep it unspoiled until after the final episode of now both the year and the season.
Yeah, we'll check in next week, but oh boy.
It's been a year-long journey of trying to get to a 50-50 at the end of the year. We'll see how it lands.
I suppose we will. Let's talk about the album art of Born in the USA. It's Bruce Springsteen's butt.
That spring booty.
Yeah, that doesn't really make sense, but...
Red baseball cap.
Yeah, he's got a baseball cap in his pocket, standing in front of the American flag. What an awesome belt.
It's a pretty cool belt.
It is. The obviously now iconic photo of Springsteen's tush was taken by Annie Leibovitz, and she's taken a ton of famous photos. I think even maybe some album covers we've talked about before. Either way, she's a known name in photography. She was obviously pretty inspired by the album's title, Born in the USA, and the title track, also born in the USA, to put this American flag in the background. And I guess to be fair, we don't really know that it's the full American flag. It might just be stripes.
Which wouldn't make it a flag at all.
That's true.
He could just be standing in a striped wall for all we know.
It could be a big candy cane.
I feel lied to, and I don't even know why.
Well, he was born in the USA. It's a flag. It's supposed to be a flag anyway. Springsteen said, "The flag is a powerful image, and when you set that stuff loose, you don't know what's going to be done with it." Some people looked at this album cover, and they thought that Bruce Springsteen was peeing on the flag.
What?
That's what they thought. It's wild. He said, "No way. That's absolutely not true."
I mean, to be fair, the way his hand is, I can see why they went there.
Yeah, he could be, I suppose, peeing on the flag. And again, it's a very, like, anti-patriotic kind of song. So maybe there's symbolism there. But he's not peeing on the flag. He said that was not true at all. And the reason that they picked this cover photo instead of one of his face is because he just said the one of his butt looked better. So that's what went on the cover.
He had a good booty.
I guess.
A good spring booty.
Better than his spring face.
His fall booty.
He's not a season. Yes, Bruce Summersteen.
Things get real cold around Bruce Winterstein.
Yeah, they would, I'm sure.
He's a real icy individual.
Well, without further ado, let's dive into this album. Starting off strong with the title track, Born in the USA. Short for Born in the United States of America.
Good clarification. Good clarification.
Thank you. Well, just in case you made it this far in and weren't sure, you're correct. It is a very misunderstood title track. In fact, Born in the USA is probably one of the most widely misconstrued songs in modern music history. It's a diss track.
Yeah, considering how much it gets played around like 4th of July.
Like us? Yeah. Well, but we're doing it ironically. A lot of people don't do it ironically. It's not a song like celebrating the USA. It's a critique of the Vietnam War and the draft. It's very vocally critical of the government and the country and how it handled itself on the world stage in the 70s. It's centered around the struggles of a Vietnam veteran who's coming back after the war to a country that seemingly doesn't care about him. He thinks, I guess, the flag is peeing on him.
Dang.
Yeah. But, like politicians and citizens alike have ignored pretty much every lyric in this song, and they just treat it like a patriotic, celebratory rock song.
Yeah, I want to know how many politicians have used this in some sort of campaign way.
A lot, actually. He got into a bit of a standoff with President Ronald Reagan about the song. Reagan tried to use this song in his campaigns and leverage Springsteen fandom to his advantage, and Bruce Springsteen, was like, "No, you don't like my music." He even started to play some songs from Nebraska at a concert. He said, "I wonder which of these songs is Reagan's favorite." And he started singing about the working man and unions, all this stuff that Reagan didn't understand or wasn't supportive of. He's like, he doesn't know my music. But it started from the very beginning in the 80s and it's continued to today. I feel like we even had trouble with it in 2016 or 2020.
Doesn't surprise me.
I know. But it was a huge hit in its day, as misconstrued as it is. It peaked at number 9 on the Hot 100 and it was the third of Born in the USA's 7 top 10 hits. It's ranked number 275 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time list, and the RIAA named it the number 59 best song of the century in 2001. It's certified 3 times platinum in the USA, where it was born, and 3 times platinum in Australia also, which is curious. We'll find several times as we go through this episode that Australia really likes Bruce Springsteen. It's also platinum in Italy and the UK.
They hate Barry Manilow, love Bruce Springsteen.
Seems to be the case. He's a hoon guy. The song was actually conceived as a featured track for the movie Light of Day with Michael J. Fox. And it was actually the film debut of Joan Jett. Who knew? It actually didn't make the soundtrack for the movie. Instead, Springsteen kept Born in the USA for himself, and he passed them on a song called Light of Day. So he is on the soundtrack, it's just not with this song.
I see.
What do you think?
Well, in fairness to all the politicians, it's a pretty peppy song. Feels like it should be patriotic.
It's a pretty rockin' song, and it does feel like it should be patriotic. That's true. You can identify it right from the opening intro. The synth sounds awesome. The drums are resounding, and then he just comes in yelling. Springsteen's got a great voice. He's got such power behind it, and I love the producing they do on it. There's enough reverb on all these songs that it just really brings out his punch, and I love it.
It's a little long.
A little long, you think? 4.5 minutes?
Yeah.
I guess.
There towards the end, it just gets a lot of ba da 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 from the instrumentals, just over and over loop.
That's it. The problem with it is that the verse and the chorus have the same melody. They're very different lyrically, but they're no different at all in their melody. So you just hear him sing this one refrain over and over again.
Yeah, the voice, the lyrics, and the instrumentals are all basically the same. It's a very one note kind of song, I guess.
It's uniform. It's pretty wild, though. I mean, Born in the USA, Born in the USA, Yahoo! It sounds patriotic until you add in the context of born down in a dead man's town. The first kick I took was when I hit the ground. He goes to war. He has a brother that fights the Viet Cong, and they're still here. He's all gone. It was all for nothing, and it's so hopeless. It's so tough. 10 years burning down the road, nowhere to run, nowhere to go.
Yeah, but if you ignore that part...
Yeah, if you just completely block out the entire point of the song.
You can just Born in the USA, bong, 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 bong. That's great. It's like intro music for every politician.
Wild. American Quarterly described the song really well. They said, it's a spiritual crisis in which man is left lost. And it's like he has nothing left to tie him to society anymore. He's isolated from the government, isolated from his job, isolated from his family, to the point where nothing makes sense. And they said the anthemic chorus contrasted with the verse's desperate narrative. And basically, I mean, their point was that the pleas and the struggles of the veteran get drowned out by just the blind patriotism of the blue-collar working class, of the Born in the USA. And the song kind of mimics what it actually does in real life. It's too good at funneling all the attention to the Born in the USA part.
Yeah, it seems like it.
It's a heck of an opening track. Heck of a title track.
Heck of a title track.
It's still the third most popular song on this album, even though I think it's the one I hear the most, just out and about in the wild.
Yeah.
I also really like Cover Me. It's a very strong follow-up. You know, Come On Baby, Cover Me. It's great. It's the second single from the album. Its B-side was a live version of his song Jersey Girl.
I see.
Yeah, this was another song Springsteen initially kind of intended to give to someone else. It was originally supposed to be a cut for Donna Summer, but his manager stopped him. He listened to Cover Me and he went, oh, no. This song has hit potential.
He was like, no, that's for you.
This is a Bruce Springsteen song. Yeah, he's like, I got you covered. You're singing Cover Me. So Springsteen instead gave Donna Summer a song called Protection, and he covered Cover Me all by himself. He actually recorded Cover Me at the Hit Factory in New York City in January of 1982. And then he redid it that May at the Power Station 2 years before it would be released on Born in the USA. I can't imagine how hard it would be to sit on a song like Cover Me, or I mean practically the whole album of Born in the USA for 2 years. To be Bruce Springsteen and have this done and to just not put it out for 24 months would be excruciating.
Yeah.
But I guess, I mean, to be fair, he did say he was kind of apathetic about these songs. Ambivalent, I think, is exactly the word he used. But man, what a track, what a record. He actually finished all the tracking for Cover Me, like the album quality stuff, in 9 takes, which is pretty remarkable, but honestly not surprising if you've heard him play anything live. Cover Me went to number 7 on the Hot 100, another of the top 10s, and it's been certified gold. I really like how Cover Me pivots from the synthesizer of Born in the USA and like the electric keyboard to the guitar. Cover Me is a guitar song.
Yeah.
I think it's cool that his voice works so well in both contexts. Was this one too long and repetitive for you?
No.
Really? Is it because of that, like, bridged kind of part? The rain, the driving snow, I can hear the wild wind blowing, that mixes up the melody? Because it's kind of like the rest of the song is the same. Like, that's the only part that's different. A lot of the song fluctuates between 2 chords, apparently like Greensleeves.
Yeah, no, I would say it's probably that and just the fact that it's faster paced and less than 3.5 minutes, so it doesn't overstay its welcome.
No, it is kind of normal song length. I also like the way that he does play with rhythm on that bridge. You know, we're pretty straightforward until he hears the wild wind blowing, like it hits 4 big times to match what he's doing with the lyrics, and I think that's really engaging. As a listener, I love it.
Pretty good.
It is, and honestly, I mean, a way more positive song. There's nothing to misconstrue here. Hold me in your arms, let our love blind us. Cover me. Shut the door, cover me. We're going to keep the rain out, keep the snow out. All the bad things are going to be away from us. It's you, it's me. We've got each other covered. It's so simple in its concept. I mean, after such a nuanced song like Born in the USA. And I kind of like that contrast. This is the song the politicians should use. Change it to Vote For Me. Did you know, I mean, I'm guessing you knew Born in the USA because you were born in the USA. Did you know Cover Me?
I don't think I did.
Really? I thought it was pretty big. But again, maybe it's an album I've grown up listening to my whole life, so I guess I don't really know for sure what was popular and what I just heard because I was in the bubble.
Yeah.
But I think Cover Me was at least a fairly popular song. Judging by the Spotify plays, it's got to be like in the top half of this album. One that's not there, though, is Darlington County.
Yeah, this was not as popular song, I think.
No, Darlington County wasn't quite as big, but it is a real county. You know, it's a county in South Carolina. It's cool. I bet it's popular in Darlington County. Springsteen actually wrote the song back in his Darkness on the Edge of Town days, but he kept it under wraps for a couple years. And once again, this is another song where he recorded the final version in May of 1982, the same time he did Cover Me. And you'll find that's true for a lot of these songs.
Let's see.
He does actually mention the 4th of July in the lyrics to this song, so, that's another way that it's relevant this week. Just saying. What's your take on Darlington County? It's got a lot more cowbell.
Hey, never too much cowbell.
It's kind of a fun song. They're driving down from New York City all the way to Darlington County, 800 miles without seeing a cop, got rock and roll music blasting off the T-top. Just a couple people cruising around Darlington County, looking for a good time. Kind of a free-spirited song. I've actually been through Darlington County. Didn't realize it until I was researching for this episode and listening to this song and figuring out where Darlington County is. But that's fun.
But I like the song.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no Born in the USA, don't get me wrong, but
no,
it grooves.
It does. And you know what? It's not Born in the USA, but Springsteen has a knack for making his instruments follow the melody. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la matches the riff of the guitar, just like Born in the USA matches the melody of Born in the USA. It's great. What about the saxophone solo? I think it's the first time we get a real brass instrument on this record.
Yeah, and I liked it. I loved it. I want some more of it.
Well, that's Tim McGraw. But yeah, good. I'm glad. And you will get more of it, believe you me. But you don't get any more of it yet. That's going to take a while. Then we move on to what's probably the fastest song on the album yet. Not just because it's the shortest, but also the tempo is the fastest. That's Working on the Highway. Hey. Working on... What?
When you're on the highway, you got to be going fast.
That's true. You do. But when you're working on the highway, it probably takes a long time.
And this was one somehow I feel like I'd heard.
Really?
I don't know. I recognized it.
That's interesting. I mean, it was never a single.
I don't know if it was in something or I don't know.
That could be. It's never been a single, but it is one of Springsteen's live staples, along with Darlington County, and actually, surprisingly unlike Born in the USA and Cover Me. He doesn't play those as much as he does Darlington County and Working on the Highway. But maybe it has been in something. Or maybe is just familiar. To go from that 4 to the 1.
Yeah, maybe.
Actually, Working on the Highway got its very first recording as a Nebraska-style demo. So it started out way more acoustic. Springsteen with a guitar and a tape recorder. I can't really imagine that. Because the real version is so much. It's hard to picture it stripped so far back. I like the parallelism in Working on the Highway. It's about a guy who goes from working on the highway as a construction worker to working on the highway, but as part of a prison chain gang, right? He starts holding the flag and watching traffic pass him by, working for the government.
Mm-hmm.
But then he's down there with the warden, laying down blacktop, blasting through bedrock. It changes fundamentally.
I think that's probably one of the catchiest hooks on the album. The
Really?
I don't know. That got stuck in my head after listening to the album.
Okay, I can believe that. I am a big fan of the bigger, like, stadium anthem kind of songs. The Born in the USA's and the Cover Me and the...
Yeah, well, I mean, again, this is no Born in the USA, but that one little hook worms its way in there.
It does. And it's a pretty wild song. I like that it goes places you don't expect when it starts. Especially with Springsteen's track record of, like, blue-collar, like, labor advocacy, or he's, like, speaking so much to that situation, and then all of a sudden he, like, goes to jail. When you're like, whoa, that came out of nowhere. Once you're done working on the highway, you could try other modes of transportation, like perhaps the train.
Only if it's going downbound, though.
Uh-huh. You would only get on a downbound train.
Don't get on the upbound train.
The upbound train sounds like you've had a problem. Downbound train is really interesting. It starts on a minor chord, and it kind of just...
Hey, he had a job, and he had a girl.
He did. He had something going in this world.
But then he got laid off.
Laid off from where?
I hear it was the lumberyard.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I bet his love went bad and times got hard after that. What'd he do next?
Tried to go to a car wash.
Really?
Yeah, where the weather was really weird there, and all it did was rain.
Man, doesn't he feel like a rider on a downbound train?
I also now just have the image in my head of somebody working at a car wash thinking it's raining, but it's really just the water from the car wash, not understanding that that's what's happening. They're like, man, it just always rains here.
It never stops. I think Downbound Train is one of the saddest tracks on the album, probably. It's all about a spouse that leaves him. She packs her bags and leaves him behind and buys a ticket on the Downbound Train to get away from him. It's pretty tragic, and I like the way the music kind of backs that up. It's a very sing-alongable song, and it doesn't really have a chorus so much as a hook. We get On a Downbound Train as kind of the touch point we keep coming back to, and the rest of the song just kind of pushes us through it, like we're driving through a car wash. It's rolling us through. Or perhaps a more apt metaphor is like we're on the train tracks.
I found myself distracted by the drums on this song. I was listening to those a lot.
They do have a really interesting sound, don't they? There's a good crack to them, but also they kind of sound reverby too. And this is, you know what's funny is another song, I mean, we just left Working on the Highway, and you know where he ends this song? Swinging a sledgehammer on our railroad gang, knocking down cross ties, working in the rain. Like, he is back at the manual labor. This is a pretty sad one, but I honestly think it's a little more popular than Darlington County and Working on the Highway.
Yeah. I mean, this is more ballad style too, so I like that.
Yeah, it is. But if you want a ballad style song that was also super duper popular,
you know, you tried Working on the Highway, then you tried a different form of transportation via train, and if that doesn't work out, you could try a third mode of transportation.
Yeah,
Ride the Fire.
Good grief.
Up next, I'm on fire.
You took my good transition for that.
Yeah, I did. Well, because I was going to make the transition on the last one that you made. You stole it from me, so I said, I'm just going to use the get on the next one out of spite.
Oh, wow, okay. I'm on Fire is the perfect mix of a ballad type song, but also one that was super popular. I'm on Fire is such a vibe. It was another one that was cut in May of 1982. And to this point, it's unlike anything else on the album. It's so ambient and like floaty. It's really wild. The song started with some lyrics he had written for a song called Spanish Eyes on an earlier record, but he was noodling around on a guitar, and his keyboardist, Roy Bittan, and drummer Max Weinberg made up some accompaniment on the spot that evolved into the really cool style of I'm on Fire. It's really one of Springsteen's first forays into a primarily synth-driven sound. It peaked at number 6 on the Billboard charts, another of the 7 top 10s, and it topped the charts in the Netherlands. He actually also had Dancing in the Dark, a very similar kind of song, and Born in the USA in the Netherlands top 10 at the same time, making Bruce Springsteen the very first artist to land 3 simultaneous top 10s there since the Beatles. And it's also certified double platinum in the US, and, ready, 5 times platinum in Australia.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Australia loves Bruce Springsteen.
They sure do. And so do I, really. This song has so few lyrics. It's 2.5 minutes long. It's short. It's just vibey.
I like the oohs. Just the way that they fade out on them at the end of the song. Very haunting.
Haunting is a good adjective for I'm on Fire. It's just the range of Springsteen on this album alone is incredibly impressive. Like, I'm on Fire fits into this album, but I don't really know why. Maybe it's his voice that's the through thread, because this song isn't like anything that's happened so far, and yet it feels right at home here. Wild. Some of the lyrics are a little ambiguous, but it's really interesting. What a song. It also got a music video in which Bruce Springsteen plays a mechanic getting hit on by a woman who keeps bringing in her car just to see him, which is classic. What a concept.
Classic.
This is also the song that ends side 1 of the album, which is an incredible side ender, I think.
Oh, wild.
I know. What a way to have the record like fade out and stop, and then you got to come over and flip it. And then, man, you flip that record over into No Surrender? Hello. Like, good morning. Awesome. I love it. No Surrender is another one of my favorite tracks, personally.
Like it too.
Yeah, that's good. Springsteen, though, was not too keen on No Surrender.
He'd rather surrender.
He did want to surrender it, not put it on. But his guitarist, Steven Van Zandt, is the one that convinced him to keep it. Thank goodness. But even years later, Springsteen still didn't love it after it was a hit and a success. Conceptually, he just was not a fan. He said it was a song I was uncomfortable with. You don't hold out and triumph all the time in life. You compromise. You suffer defeat. You slip into life's gray areas. Like, sometimes you just have to surrender. And I guess that does make sense. But I feel like the song's not pushing that. I feel like the song's not saying, no, you never, ever, ever surrender. It's like, man, we made a promise we'd always remember. No retreat, no surrender. It feels like Blood on Blood, like Bon Jovi style. Like you're reminiscing on the days when you were younger and had a lot of fight and gumption and fire in you. No surrender. It's not saying never surrender. It's just saying, man, there was a day when we took the world by storm. Because then he goes on to say, now young faces grow sad and old and hearts of fire grow cold. So it's almost like a Glory Days type sentiment. Just thinking back on happier times, I guess. It's not a never surrender. I don't know. I disagree with Springsteen on that one. And so again, does the rest of the general public. No Surrender charted at number 29, outside of the top 10, but still respectable.
Still respectable.
Absolutely.
It's a good song. Like I said, there hasn't really been a bad song yet.
No, that's great. I'm glad to hear you say that, because I also kind of agree. I think the worst case scenario song on this album ends up being, like, good.
Yeah.
Up next, I think maybe, according to the Spotify plays, the most underrated song on the album, Bobby Jean. Somehow, Bobby Jean was not a single. Should have been, in my opinion. Bobby Jean is, like, the first time I remember hearing this song, the first time I intentionally, like, listened to this song, it blew me away. I loved it, and I still love it. Maybe it's just nostalgia talking and, like, personal bias, but Bobby Jean rocks. I guess it's not super radio friendly as, like, a single, but I definitely think it should be more popular than it appears to have ended up being. It did, peak at number 36 on the mainstream rock tracks chart, but it didn't make it to the Billboard Hot 100. I like the piano's return on Bobby Jean. We haven't seen, like, a true piano much at all. Not since maybe Born in the USA. We've had a lot of synths, and don't get me wrong, there's synths on Bobby Jean, but it sounds like there's some real keyboard in there too.
The way the keyboard and the synth work together, I think, is really what is the secret sauce of Bobby Jean.
Absolutely. They play well. They play nice.
They share their toys. They, say please and thank you.
Yeah, they get along. I also, right from the jump, love the count in to hear Springsteen do his little 2, 3, 4. Like, that's exciting. It gets you going right away.
He can count. Woo!
He can. Well, he starts at 2, so I don't know. I don't want to fully assert that he can count.
He starts at 2, stops at 4, so I'm not sure what he was using to count, but
most of his fingers.
On
one hand. Not most. You get it. Either way, I like it. Bobby Jean is kind of open to interpretation, but a lot of people have decided it's about his guitarist, Steve Van Zandt, who was in the process of actually parting ways with the E Street Band.
Oh, he wasn't playing nice.
Well, I think it was on amicable terms. I just think he wanted something else. And so Bruce wrote, I think the consensus is No Surrender and Bobby Jean about him and for him.
Wow.
Yeah, and I like that, but I also never realized that, and I assumed Bobby Jean was about, like, a romantic interest, which I think is what you're supposed to assume. And I guess it does work both ways, and I've heard that's why he picked the name Bobby Jean. It's a little gender ambiguous.
Yeah.
So you can kind of work it in there however you want.
That makes sense, right? You want to write a tribute to this guy, but you don't want it to only be about that nobody else can identify with, so you kind of disguise it a little.
Yeah, you want it to be relatable. He does say, I miss you, baby, at the end. So it does get a little romantic, overtly.
Well.
But still, man, I love this song. It's about, he's with Bobby Jean since they're 16. They grow up together. They live life together. I picture them doing the no surrender thing together. Like, just tackling the world head on. The best of friends. And then Bobby Jean disappears into the ether, just goes away, runs away, doesn't call, doesn't say anything. And he's like, man, I just wish I had one more chance to spend a little time with you and wish you the best for the rest of your life. There ain't nobody, nowhere, no how that's going to understand me the way you did. Incredible. And I love the last verse that kind of breaks the fourth wall, kind of gets a little meta. He's like, maybe, Bobby Jean, you're out there somewhere listening to the radio, and maybe you're hearing me sing this song about you, like at you. And you'll know that I'm thinking of you when you do. It's just lovely.
I don't know why, but when you were describing that, I got the image, the scene from SpongeBob, where it's like Mr. Krabs just sold SpongeBob to Plankton to, like, send him to work over there, and they, like, sing that weird little song, and they, like, go up into, like, little cloud bubbles across
in the clouds?
from. Yeah, I don't know why, but that's what I got.
Yeah, and one is Bruce Springsteen, and one is Bobby Jean.
Yep, that's
exactly. Well, not exactly, but more or less.
No, exactly.
The emotion is the same. Did you by chance know Bobby Jean beforehand?
I don't think so.
Well, you were missing out. But hey, you know what, Bobby Jean? If you're out there listening to this podcast, give Bruce Springsteen a call. He's thinking of you.
Yeah, if you didn't know that song was about you, now you do, Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby Jean, if you're out there and you haven't heard this song yet, well, take a listen to it. You know one song that is kind of popular, but I kind of bet you didn't like as much?
Well, because we normally go in order, I assume you're talking about I'm Going Down.
That is a good assumption. And I am talking about I'm Going Down. Yes.
But it's got that good saxophone again.
Does that save it? I just wasn't sure because it's probably Bruce Springsteen's most repetitive song in his catalog. He says down 80 times or something ridiculous like that.
He would have been in the running for Spin It Repetitive Award if it wasn't for the current reigning champion who will probably never be dethroned.
No, Stevie Wonder got hundreds. But yeah, you're right. This would put him firmly in the running. Was it repetitive for you? The saxophone must have pulled it all the way back from dipping.
There's a lot of down, down, down. But it's a good song. It had a good beat. The saxophone was nice. And it didn't overstay its welcome too much.
No, 3.5 minutes. It's kind of over before you know it.
Yeah, and they do some different instrumental things to keep you interested while he's just saying down over and over. Like, they cut some of it away to just clapping.
Yeah.
They put the saxophone over at a time. They mix it up that way.
True. Now, if you can believe it, I'm Going Down is actually very country influenced and very Johnny Cash inspired. Does that track with you? Is that a thing you can pick up on anywhere in this? I mean, down, down, down in a burning ring of fire, maybe?
Yeah, I'm going down, down, down in a burning ring of fire. But that's about it.
Yeah, it does kind of channel Ring of Fire. I'm Going Down was the album's 6th single. 6 singles on a 12-track album. Wild. It hit number 9 in the U.S., another of the 7 top 10s. And actually, the band only spent 10 takes recording I'm Going Down for the Electric Nebraska sessions in 82. I'm Going Down is actually a very controversial kind of Springsteen song.
Really?
Well, not controversial necessarily. It's just there's a wide range of opinions. Some people have said that it's like the 4th best Springsteen song ever of all time. Others rank it in the 50s. Someone even ranked it as low as 164 on a list of Springsteen's best works. It's tough to pin down. It swings wide, whether you love it or you hate it. But hey. Also, fun tidbit, flashback a couple weeks here. In 2010, Vampire Weekend played I'm Going Down live.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really, apparently. I can't imagine that at all. I can't cross this with that style, even a little bit.
Yeah, my brain's struggling too as well.
Maybe they'll play it live again, and we can hear it sometime. What do you think were your glory days? Not to say that they're past. Maybe they're upcoming. But at this point, you must have days in the past that were the best days in the past, right?
I think we're in them. I think we're in the glory days.
Oh, hope you like glory days, Mrs. Swan. You're in them.
No, it's like the quote from Andy from The Office. Is I wish you knew you were in the good old days before you left them, or what? I don't remember how he ends that quote, but it's that. I think we're there.
Yeah, that very famous quote.
I think we're in them. I think the podcast is our glory days.
Okay.
Someday the podcast has reached its conclusion, probably because we've died and can't go on.
Wow. Well, my glory days will be behind me when I'm dead.
Well, that's the thing. Hey, if you're in your glory days and you can keep them going, a whole life full of glory days sounds pretty nice.
That's true. Glory life.
I'm in my glory life.
That's it. Yeah. Never ends. I wouldn't be surprised if that Office quote was inspired by this song and Bruce Springsteen, actually. And by this song, I mean Glory Days. No, I'm Going Down. I've categorically moved on. What an awesome song. Glory Days was Born in the U.S.A.'s 5th single. Its B-side was Stand on It. And it charted at number 5 in the U.S. and number 3 on the mainstream rock chart. Today, it is certified silver in the U.K., platinum in the U.S., and double platinum in Australia. It's consistently better in Australia. I don't know what he did. I don't know why they like it so much better than us, but they do.
They got better taste, I guess.
I suppose so. But Vegemite.
Yeah, you're right. No, maybe that's what's done it. Maybe that's the difference. Maybe the Vegemite has messed with their taste buds in a way that makes them more susceptible to Bruce Springsteen.
I guess.
There's a conspiracy here.
Maybe.
I didn't say it was a good one.
Someone will get to the bottom of that. Glory Days is autobiographical, at least in part. Bruce Springsteen wrote the first verse after an actual run-in with one of his former Little League teammates in 1973. Actually, according to him, later on in life, he said the first verse actually happened. The second verse mostly happened. And the third verse, of course, is happening now. He is living his glory life.
It's all anyone can hope to do at the end of the day.
Really, yeah. Also, fun trivia, there's a missing 4th verse of Glory Days.
Whoa!
Yeah.
The Australians have it. They're keeping it all for themselves. That's why they like it so much more.
It's locked away. It's about the speaker's father, who retired from a factory and then spent most of his time sitting around complaining that he never had any glory days. But Springsteen thought about that verse and turned it over in his mind, and he realized that it really wasn't thematically very in line with the rest of the song, so he cut it out. And honestly, that's fine. The song's already 4.25 minutes long, so I think we're good with our current amount of verses. And that keeps it tight. I think everything is very focused around the theme, since we don't have a meandering, random fourth verse. It also got a fun baseball-themed music video.
Wow.
And then we move on to the penultimate track. Honestly, the only one that even slightly resembles I'm on Fire, but it's way faster. Dancing in the Dark.
Most popular song.
Apparently it is. Yeah, the most popular song here. It debuted at number 36 on the Billboard charts, and then it climbed to number 2, although he got boxed out of the top spot by Duran Duran, of all people. But Dancing in the Dark stayed at number 2 for 4 weeks. It was also, believe it or not, the absolute highest selling single of 1984 in Australia. And weirdly enough, there was a club mix of Dancing in the Dark that got a lot of hype too shortly after it came out. And it won a Grammy for Best Rock Vocal Performance. And it's funny, honestly, genuinely ironic that Dancing in the Dark is the album's biggest hit.
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you know why?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, Springsteen has most of this album written, right? I said he wrote 80 songs or something for the Nebraska tapes, right? He's got just a mountain of material, and he finishes most of the album, and his producer, John Landau, listens through it all. He says, hey man, this is okay. What you got is pretty good. The album really needs a big hit single. Springsteen scoffs at him and says, dude, I've written 70 songs. I'm done.
I've already got 11 hit singles on this thing.
Right. If you want another song for the album, go write it yourself. And Landau's like, okay, man, good grief. Well, Bruce Springsteen goes home, and I don't know what happens. I'm guessing he sits down at a piano and he just hits the keys and he goes, uh-oh, I've got an idea. And then I picture him grumbling as he comes into the office the next day with Dancing in the Dark written. He wrote it overnight, and I can only imagine how annoyed he was that he wrote this really great song, even though he didn't think he needed to and he didn't want to do it.
Oof.
Fine, I wrote another hit. Here you go. So it's funny that it's the biggest song from the album because it almost didn't even exist.
Wow.
I know. And that actually shows in the song. His frustration from that event, I think he channeled into writing the song, because it's all about having to perform for people and how it can be such a struggle to keep going on the hamster wheel and keep writing hit song after hit song. He got told he needed to write a hit, came home, was annoyed that he had to keep writing hits, and he wrote a hit.
It's pretty ironic.
It is. I love the vibes. I love the synth. I love the drums. I love the lyrics. There's honestly not much I don't love about Dancing in the Dark.
Yeah, but it wasn't my favorite.
It wasn't. What about it? What doesn't do it?
Well, no, I liked it. It just wasn't my favorite song on the album, even though it's the most popular.
I guess. I don't know. There's nothing specific that you can pinpoint about it.
It's almost double the popularity of Born in the USA.
Wild. Yeah.
But I think I like Born in the USA better.
Really?
Even though it overstayed its welcome a little bit.
The political messaging?
Just the vibe of the song. I think I'm pulling a politician here and ignoring what the song's about and just going, I like the instruments and the...
I like the way it sounds.
Yeah.
Pulling a politician. Great.
I don't know what it is, because I think I like some of his other stuff better too that's not as popular. Well, I mean, I like Glory Days better.
Yeah, I mean, you seem to really take to stuff like Downbound Train and Working on the Highway.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. Dancing in the Dark was probably one of the most intensively worked on songs on the album. I mean, he wrote it in one night, sure, but he kind of pulled a Born to Run on it. They recorded the song, they tracked it in 6 takes, which is impressive, but they sat in the studio and they went through 58 mixes to get the song right. They sat and remixed the song 58 times. Springsteen kept hearing it in his head differently than they could get it on tape. And after almost 60 attempts, I think they nailed it. And the album closes with the last of its top 10 singles, My Hometown. It reached number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100, and today it is certified platinum in the US. The B-side to My Hometown, if you can believe it, is his very, very famous version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
We'll be talking about that, I'm sure, on the holidays.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Spinter Wonderland, Bruce Springsteen is a strong pick in Spinter Wonderland this year.
He's coming to town.
He's coming to his hometown. Maybe that's why he did it. My Hometown and Santa Claus is Coming to Town. That's a nice town-themed single. My Hometown is interesting because thematically, lyrically, he kind of starts on this Glory Days-ish path, but then takes a hard Born in the USA kind of pivot. We think that he's about to be nostalgic, right? He talks about, oh, growing up in my hometown, this is what it was like, this was my experience back in the day. And then he takes a hard turn into economic hardship and racism that runs rampant in his hometown. Like when I was a kid, I didn't understand what was happening here. And I grew up and this was the life that I lived and I missed that. But now that I'm an adult, now that I'm more conscious and aware of what's happening, I see a lot of rough things that are happening. You know, the textile mill is closed. Main Street is whitewashed windows and vacant stores. Nobody wants to come down here. Jobs are gone. They're not coming back. Like, his eyes have been opened to the reality of his hometown. It's actually based on Springsteen's real-life hometown of Freehold, New Jersey, which apparently had its own share of racial tension during the civil rights movement and did, in fact, have a textile mill that closed down. It's really interesting, and I love the way the album kind of ends on this last verse. He talks about taking his son on a drive around town, just sitting him up on his lap behind the wheel as they drive through the city, and he says, look, this is where you're from. Like, this is my legacy. It's your legacy.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to take care of it. We're going to make it better. But I don't know. It's just such an honest look. I like it a lot, but I don't like it musically as much as almost anything else on the album, even though thematically it's the perfect closer.
I like it. No, I like it. I think for a first time in a while, we've gone a whole album without a song that really tanked the album for me.
Really? Well, that's encouraging.
Well, just like usually there's at least one song that I'm like, man, that one could be cut.
Drop it?
I don't think any of these need cut.
No, I think some of them don't necessarily stand on their own, but they all gel really well in the context of this album.
Yeah.
Which is great. Well, let's get into some final spin. 4th of July final spin. Week of 4th of July final spin. 7 days before. You get it. We've been through it. I really enjoy this album. I like that Bruce Springsteen is a guy with something to say. I like his perspective. I like his ability to step into the shoes of his characters and reflect their world and their life back at us in such a relatable, poignant way. Plus, he writes a really good melody. I like the diversity of this album, that we can fit songs like Cover Me and I'm on Fire in the same dozen tracks and they feel right at home together. There's a lot to like. Musically, I'm giving this album a 90. A lot of sing-alongable songs. I mean, some of the biggest hits, not just of Bruce Springsteen's career, but like of the decade of the 1980s are on this album. As far as, I guess, I'm concerned. I really enjoy them. Lyrically, I'm giving it an 87. Instruments and production, 86. Some of it, I guess, feels a little dated. Not in a way that it feels old, but just in a way that it shows that it was made a while ago. You know, it's a product of its time. It's not stuck in its time, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, overall vibe, 92. It's an easy listen. I mean, it's 46 minutes. It's like a standard length album. It goes by pretty quickly. I've listened to it like 2.5 times today alone without even thinking about it, just mindlessly. Overall score is going to be a 90.1. Born in the USA does indeed crack that coveted top 100 and lands at number 94.
94.
Uh-huh.
That's a high score. Top 50?
What?
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 What are you talking about, top 50?
So you said 94, right?
Well, yeah, that's like 44 away from the top 50.
Oh, wait, place 94.
Yeah. His score was a 90.1 and it was in place, position 94. Born in the USA does what Party in the USA never could.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
How dare you?
Hey, you know. And that puts it, as far as albums we've done on episodes go, it puts it below The Eagles and Hotel California from the Grady's, and above Pep by Lights.
As for me, I think I've already given away what my score is going to be.
I don't know, you've hinted at some pretty favorable opinions, but I don't know if you've given it away.
Well, I'm about to. It's getting... How is this possible?
What? What's it getting?
It's getting a 9 out of 10.
9. Okay. That's kind of what I thought you said when you were hinting at what score it was going to get. I don't know how you hint that it's going to get an 8 or a 7 or anything. But good, I'm glad I snapped my streak of 7s.
I'm going to give this one 9 offspring-steens out of 10.
Offspring-steens. Like his kids?
Yeah.
But he's on Springsteen. He is Springsteen.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough. Those horse-riding rascals.
Equestrian riding rascals, please.
Well, no, yeah, they're equestrians, but they ride horses.
And technically only one of them does that. As for my top 3, I guess we'll go in album order.
Wait, really, you guess? Was there a question in there?
No. I debated mixing it up. Born in the USA. I mean, come on.
Come on. Born in the USA. He was born in the USA. He was born in the USA. Very 4th of July of you.
Thank you. I'm on fire, of course.
Of course? Really? That's a little surprising to me.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
I'm the ballad guy. I like the ballady songs.
Yeah.
Gotta take Glory Days, too.
Oh, yeah. You gotta. That's a must.
And that leaves a honorable mention.
No Bobby Jean.
I know. It's a honorable mention to Dancing in the Dark.
Wow.
Couldn't not give it the honorable mention. And I can't risk not having all my picks for my episode. So unfortunately, Bruce is stuck with the normal allotment.
Oh, yeah.
If I'd had time to recover them, he would have gotten bonus picks.
Wow, okay. It's all about the album placement that messed up your top 3. But that's right. Yeah, you get the last pick of the Year of Healing next week.
And I will make sure it heals us. We will be healed.
You've said you had some big idea to finally heal us all the way.
We will be healed and able to move on into a new era of the Spin It podcast.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm curious about that, but that's next week's thing.
As long as you don't mess it up.
Okay.
I'm putting the power of healing in your hand. Don't crush it.
I see. I'll do my best. We didn't even talk about where your nines is going. For the record, we skipped right over that.
Oh, we totally did.
You got so excited about the top 3s.
I did. Sorry, I got very excited about the top 3s. It's going... We also didn't do our playlist picks. We just all over the place.
No, I know. I figured we'd get to that, but I just didn't want to separate too far from the 9.
Yeah, Born in the USA is gonna go right above B.B. King.
Ooh, B.B. King. Interesting. That puts him below Kaleo.
As for playlist picks, I'll just take Born in the USA.
Okay, good. I was hoping you'd just take one so I could unilaterally take a second one, which is like the whole point of the playlist picks.
Yeah.
We've decided a lot by committee over the years, but I do just like taking what I want. And it's tough to say what I want from this album. Man, I like so many. I like them all, but I really like Bobby Jean.
Bobby Jean's good.
And I really like Dancing in the Dark, and Glory Days is on here.
Glory Days.
Darn you.
Well, that's why I just took one and left it to you to have to choose what doesn't make it on. The power's in your hand. Don't crush it.
Man, I think I'm going to rule out Dancing in the Dark.
Dancing in the Dark.
No, ruling it out. I'm ruling it out.
Oh, you're ruling out Dancing in the Dark? Okay.
Yeah.
Most popular song.
I'm taking Bobby Jean because I think Glory Days and Bobby Jean are in a dead heat for me. Photo finish, exact perfect tie. Like in an equestrian event at the Olympics, like they'd have to review it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm giving it to Bobby Jean because it is less popular.
Fair enough.
So that's where I'm ending up. I like it equally, and I think it needs more exposure. And if Bobby Jean hears it, like, I'm spreading the word, you know? I want word to get to Bobby Jean. So that's going to do it. That's the penultimate episode of the Year of Healing. I can't believe we've come so far. If you want to hear the conclusion of the Year of Healing and all the other albums that we listen to and rank, tune in next week wherever you get your podcasts. And you can find us on social media at Spin It Pod Official on Instagram and at Spin It Pod on X, Twitch, all the other things. You can visit www.spinitpod.com for all your Spin It Pod wants and needs. Tune in next week to hear Connor say, probably a lot of very controversial things, but he'll also say silly things like this.
Well, I think that's how werewolves are born. Usually werewolves are made, not born. But if you were to try to birth one, it would be by doing it under the full moon.
Can you defend what you just said?
Of course. I can defend everything I've ever said. Never said anything wrong on recording ever.
Fair enough.
Tell a friend who enjoys the Summersteen
Tell him what?
about the podcast.
Okay, you just said tell him. So I want to make sure it's clear what you're supposed to tell him.
Tell them. Or, here you go. No, even better. Tell a friend about the podcast who, growing up, you were childhood friends with, and their house had an unusual smell.
Oh, tell your friend with the smelliest house. If it smells like coffee and chocolate, if it smells like factory waste.
Yeah, don't tell them what the smell was until after they've listened to this, and then they'll come confront you about it, and you can tell them what that unusual smell was.
Maybe it's just house smell.
Maybe.
Maybe it's friend smell.
The smell of friendship.
Anyway, we'll see you next week. And until we finish healing,
Keep spinning.
Have you ever put a hat in your back pocket? Like, what's the point?
No, I don't put things in my back pocket at all. Like, I know there's a lot of people that like to put their wallets or phones in their back pocket, and I don't understand it. It's not comfortable.
Phone is wild. Wallet, I do.
Oh, that's still... My wallet gets fatter than my phone in terms of, like, width, right? So, like, that's more uncomfortable. My phone is pretty skinny.
Well, I'm not talking about comfort. I just don't want to put my entire weight on a small glass rectangle in my pocket.
Yeah, that's fair.
That feels like I could get some lacerations headphones.
I'm all about the comfort, but no, I only put the hats on my head.
Yeah. Well, apparently Bruce Springsteen doesn't. What if he's wearing another hat and this is his backup hat
Whoa.
in his back pocket?
Honestly, that's a game changer. Backup hat?
Just in case the first one like gets lost or it doesn't match the vibe of what he's doing.
Doesn't fit the mood. Exactly, right? Like you get bad news about a friend or whatever at a friend's gathering, you switch to like your solemn hat instead of your fun time hat.
This is the hat for when I'm dancing in the dark. This is the hat for when I'm working on the highway.
Heck yeah. Well, all right.
Well, all right.